we're starting the Gospel Essentials essay Zoom meeting, and I'm so grateful that Lacey showed up today. I forgot to post the link to Zoom, so I'm thinking that those who were planning to come maybe missed it, didn't see it earlier, and so hopefully this will be helpful. This is what the schedule is going to look like of this meeting today. First, I'm going to clarify the instructions. So there's the assessment instructions that you see, and I'll just go over those and then share a few little bits of information that aren't in the assessment. And then I'm going to go over the rubric. And then at the end, if there are any questions, feel free to jump in and ask. So the first one is the instructions. Let me go out of here and head over to topic 5. Topic 5, I usually go in through the side here simply because I can see all the things that are due this week. So these are the assessment description, the instructions. In this assignment, you will demonstrate your understanding of the Christian worldview, including the main topics we've covered up to this point. So before we move forward with anything, I just want to clarify here. I know it says your understanding of the Christian worldview, but what it's looking for is your understanding of the course materials, what we're uh, teaching you as far as the historic traditional Christian worldview, because a lot of students come into the class with a different understanding, which is fine. But this is historically what Christianity has believed and how Christianity is the core of what it is, like that connects globally. These are the things that unify Christians throughout the globe. So just putting that out to say your understanding of what you've been learning in this class. So the summary, you're going to summarize and analyze the essential elements of the gospel. So this is what pulls everybody together. The belief about who God is, the nature of God, the nature of humanity, the nature of Jesus, who's Jesus, and then how God and humanity are restored to each other. So this is going to be your thesis statement. Basically, you're going to use these elements in your thesis, and make sure you have that in your first paragraph. And then you're going to reflect on the implications for the Christian worldview in the essay. Write a 1,500 to 2,000 word essay. So that is content. That doesn't include the references or the title page, which the title page is just very small. So I don't even worry about that. But the content, if you go over a little bit, 2,000, that's fine, like 2,100 or whatever, but please don't write a book. I don't necessarily have time to read through it. I want to read and to be able to enjoy reading as I'm grading. When it gets around 3,000 words, it gets hard for me to want to stay there and keep reading. So you're going to write this essay using 4 resources. The 4 resources need to include 2 course resources. So the textbook, topic overview, and the Bible, and then 2 other sources from the GCU library to support your points. So don't go outside of those on the internet, or if you have a book that you want to use and you're like, I have this book at home, please ask me first so that I can maintain that it is along the lines and that it is scholarly, that it is an academic source. I don't expect everyone to know all the academic sources of this topic, who's the scholar for what. Um, that is why we also say stay within the course resources that we're giving you and the GCU library. So because you don't have to be the what is it, the guru. I don't know what else to say. You don't have to be the expert. That's the word I'm looking for. We already know So we are helping you. We're trying to help you without making you lose your mind to try to figure out who is who. Okay, let's see here. Remember, the Bible counts as one resource, regardless of how many times you use it or how many verses you cite. So because you're using the Bible, and if you use one translation, so you're going to use one version, it is a compendium of different pieces of literature, but it's all unified cohesively. So you could use Psalm, you could use Genesis, and it would still be considered one source because you're pulling from the Bible. So you're going to want to pull in a Bible citation into the content of your paper, in just about every, I mean, I would say almost every paragraph except for your intro and your conclusion. Those ones aren't asking for support, but I'll get into that in the rubric in a little bit. Begin your paper with an appropriate introduction, including a thesis statement to introduce the purpose of the paper, present the gospel essentials, the nature of God, nature of humanity, nature of Jesus, and restoration. So again, this is your thesis statement. A thesis is anything that is debatable. This right here is debated, as far as what defines traditional historic Christianity. And so you're going to use this as your thesis, like the core of it. I mean, you can't just put nature of God, nature of humanity, nature of Jesus, and restoration. You've got to, reformat it, and put it within a good sentence structure. But this is what I'm looking for, in that sentence. Okay, use the Gospel Essentials template. That one is down here. Also, the help aid template, you can use that. Just delete the instructions. In the paragraphs that I've written out, I've put little pieces of information for you in those templates. So just delete the little instructions and don't delete the subheadings. Keep those. And then you're going to start the essay. The second paragraph will be the nature of God. And you're going to answer these questions. What is the triune God like? We talked about that in topic 2, 3, 4, 5. we're still trying to wrap our minds around this harder to understand concept. What are God's characteristics? This one was mentioned mainly in topic 2. God is love. God is good. God is omnipotent, omniscient, omnibenevolent, omnipresent, all those things. And then what is his creation? So you're going to just briefly summarize creation story. You don't need to put day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. I don't want to know that. I just want to make sure that you understand that God is different than his creation. He is the creator, and he created the earth and animals, and then you can talk about how he created humanity. So then you can just transition real easily to the next one. Nature of humanity. What is human nature? Human nature, this is not defined by what we think, like uh, if you Google human nature, you're going to get personality, um, prone to lie, or it's human nature to make mistakes, or different things like that. We start out with human nature being created in the image of God. That's what is different about Christianity, is if we start with God created humanity, Adam and Eve, as good. They were good. And when he created Eve, he said, it is very good. So that's Adam and Eve and humanity are created in God's image. And that's what makes every human, every person special. So that's the human nature. And then human purpose is to have flourishing relationship with God and with each other. That was the purpose. And then the root cause of human problems. Now you can get into the where Adam and Eve chose autonomy by eating the fruit of the tree of knowledge of good and evil, and Genesis 3. So make sure you mention Genesis 3 in here and what happened. And that it was not just Eve, it was both Adam and Eve. Both of them were together. Nature of Jesus. So after this, you're going to easily transition to there's a problem, so we need a solution, and Jesus is that solution. Jesus coming into the earth as a human. What is Jesus's true identity? Jesus is fully God, fully human. You can talk about that here. What was Jesus's kingdom purpose? Was to come and reconcile that broken relationship that was caused in Adam and Eve. When Adam and Eve sinned, he was here to restore, and then to go to the cross. That was his purpose. Why is Jesus' identity and work significant for the Christian worldview? Because it all hinges around cross and the resurrection. And without that, we don't really have the Christian worldview. So then from there, we go to the restoration. What is the solution? Excuse me. To human problems according to the Christian worldview. Again, you can bring in Jesus as the solution. I mean, that's a simple answer. It's like, when you're, I always use this example of when you're teaching kids in Sunday school, or you've seen a skit of a teacher with kids in Sunday school and they ask a question and then Jesus is the answer to everything. But that's a simplified answer, and it's more complex. But then you can talk about what role grace, faith, and repentance play in Christian salvation. It is by grace of God that we're saved, and it's through faith and repentant heart for salvation. How do Christians think that the transformation of self and society happen? Well, that is through faith in Christ. So I'm going to post something that talks about transformation of a whole society, but there are different ways that society has changed through Christianity. One thing is is hospitals. Hospitals were created because of Christians' compassion and medical knowledge, education of women, orphanages, few other things that I can't think of off the top of my head right now, but there are several different ways that society has changed. Another way is if you have this experience, you're supposed to your heart should change, and as a result you're going to treat others with kindness, and it's kind of like a domino effect. It should be a domino effect. So if you change, then you're going to encourage others, and they're going to see the difference, and they're going to want to change. So like example, I have a friend who was a drug addict, and she got off drugs, and as when she gave her life to Christ, and then she cleaned up, she sobered up. She had lost her kids because she was an addict, and then she got her kids back, and she had gone to jail, and she's driving now, and she's got her own business, and she's thriving, and she's also reaching out to others who are in addiction. So it's been several years since she was in that place, but she is in a different place now, and totally different person. You would never know that she was an addict other than her mentioning her story. So that's another way. So those are just some ideas for you to use. You don't have to use any of them. You don't have to use all of them. You can use one of them if you'd like. That's fine. Just make sure you're bringing in supporting evidence. Then Christian Foundation summarize how the concepts of the gospel essentials, the nature of God, nature of humanity, nature of Jesus, and restoration, how they constitute the foundation of the Christian worldview. In other words, how are these concepts essential to the Christian worldview? How does this look for them? Why is it important? Excuse me. The analysis of the implications of the Christian worldview. Based on the previous 5 prompts, analyze the implications of the Christian worldview by addressing each of the following questions. Your first question to answer is the benefits or strengths of the Christian worldview as it relates to human value and dignity. So that's going to be first. How is it beneficial? Again, we can go back to how in the Christian worldview we believe that starting off with human nature as created in the image of God, that adds value and uniqueness and dignity to people. Then compare the Christian concept of salvation in contrast to any other worldview perspective. So in this part, I want to see that you are interacting with another worldview in a specific one. I would prefer not to see generalized. You can use one of the three that we covered in our first or second week: atheism, theism, pantheism. You can contrast it and bring in supporting evidence. I would say stick to one of those three because you have supporting evidence through the book, the textbook, and the topic overviews to kind of define what that is. And then let's see, how does a Christian worldview influence thinking and behavior? So hopefully, if you're a Christian, it will change your thinking and behavior. Now, this could also go into this question: what do people find troublesome or confusing about Christianity, and why? Sometimes people who claim to be Christians don't act very Christian-like. It doesn't seem to influence their thinking or behavior, at least from the outset. You know, sometimes people's hearts get hard and they forget what it means to be a Christian. There are many reasons why this happens, but it is troublesome. It's troublesome to me as well as many people who are not Christian. That's just one example you could use. Also, there's the Trinity. That's hard for people to understand. Also, the idea of God, a good God, and suffering. How is suffering even here when we're claiming that God is good? So those kind of things, just to throw them out there to give you ideas. And then the conclusion, you're going to synthesize the main points, pull the ideas of the paper together, and you do that through restating the thesis in a different way. Don't just copy and paste the thesis from the intro into the conclusion. Just restate it and then pull the ideas of the paper together. Be concise, but also make sure you're getting enough content in there. So stick within the word count that I've given you on the help aid template and you should be fine. I'd say it was around, I think I put for this one 150 to 200 words. That's about right for the last conclusion paragraph. So then you have your references and use the APA style. That's basically it for that. Now, I know that took me a while. I'm going to go to the rubric and I'm going to try to fly through this because once I explain one rubric, then it just is the same for the rest of them. So in this rubric, it says the description of the nature of God. So I've already talked about that. If you're answering those questions, excuse me, paper provides a well-developed, clear, and thorough description of the nature of God. So that's what I'm looking for. I grade according to the rubric. And for excellent, you see here, description includes supporting details utilizing course materials or GCU library resources. So I don't know if you're using course materials. I can only guesstimate. If you say it, but you're not putting the in-text citation. The in-text citation is what clarifies beyond all doubt that you're using and you're connecting those resources into your paragraph. So here it says supporting details utilizing course materials. So to me, that means it's going to be excellent if you use 2 different sources in your paragraph at least. So that's why I say use the Bible in every paragraph and then use a different, like the textbook or the GCU library resource. So make sure you're having that foundation because the Bible can fit into every piece of your paragraphs, every content of the essay, because it is the foundation by which everything else is written. So that would be target. If you get excellent, that's what I'm looking for, is that in-text citation, that supporting details, those citations that clearly mark that connection to those sources. Acceptable would be an above average understanding. Again, this is, I'm looking for citations here. If you have one citation and you didn't use a citation and you put according to the Christian worldview textbook, or according to a Diffie, and I see that you tried it, but you didn't put a citation, I would probably give you acceptable. Now, approaching would be basic understanding, minimal supporting details. See, it doesn't connect that utilizing course materials. It says or utilizes course materials. So if I see that you're trying, but there are no citations and it's not clear beyond all clarity, then I will most likely give you approaching. So if it's basic and you put all the information there, but there is nothing there to connect the course materials, then I'm going to have to put approaching. Insufficient would be you're not getting the word count, because that's what I look at first. I look and see, okay, is this enough? Has this reached the word count for this paragraph? Because if it hasn't, then you probably are missing one of those pieces for getting target. Okay, insufficient does not include supporting details. So if there are no citations and it's just what you wrote and you didn't pull in any sources or even try to pull in any sources, then I will give you insufficient. Unsatisfactory is if it's not written about the topic, it's totally off topic, or there's nothing there, or there's like a few words and there's no description of this. So that's the idea. Same thing here, this part, but different description. Same idea here, different topic. Same idea here, different topic. See what I'm saying? That's how I grade, and what I look for. I look to see if you answered these questions and then if you did this. And then the analysis is one paragraph. It's a little bit longer, I will say, because you have to put supporting details for both human value and dignity and the specific worldview that you're going to bring in to compare the concept of salvation. Because here it says the same thing. Utilizing course materials. Conclusion does not ask for that, so I'm not looking for that in the conclusion. It just is asking if there's a connection to the main points. Then the thesis. So these are the overarching things. So did you do the thesis correctly in the intro? Did you include every piece of that thesis throughout the essay? And then did you do the conclusion? If you did all of those well, and clearly you will get target. If maybe it's there, but it's not like clear in one sentence, you'll get acceptable. If you have put it there, but some of your paragraphs aren't supported, so you didn't clearly adequately present it, you will get thesis, sorry, you will get approaching. Insufficient would be it's missing in the intro or the conclusion or in the content somewhere, and unsatisfactory is it's just, I think it's there, but I'm not quite sure, and it something might be all over the place and it's just not there, or there's a different thesis and it's not what you were supposed to be writing about. Development, structure, and conclusion is kind of similar in that it's looking for if you are connecting those pieces together, if you're progressing from one idea to the next, if your conclusion aligns to the development of the purpose. So similar idea as thesis. Evidence is throughout, like if you have it throughout and you're clear, it's clearly marked in every part that has asked for it, you will get target. And if you have those 4 and they are scholarly and they are within the bounds that we have given you, and they're not like random BBC information or somebody, Joe Smith blogger, that we don't know who it is, or it's not connected to a scholarly support. So then we get into the mechanics. So here, everywhere else I was looking for content. Now I'm looking for mechanics in your writing. I'm looking to see if you have spelling there, and there. If you have spelled Christian right, if you have spelled the authors right, Diffey, Diffey. If you've spelled, if you're using his name gets misspelled a lot. If you are capitalizing Bible, God, Christian, Jesus, Holy Spirit, because they are proper nouns. If you are using correct punctuation, sentences have a period at the end and then they have a space, and then I'm looking for the spaces between the comma and then a space. And then I'm looking for grammar. Are your sentences run on? Are they too fragmented, or are they just right language use? Third person point of view, I'm looking for that throughout your essay. Now, APA formatting does allow for first person in the intro and the conclusion, but if you are going to write in third person, I would just say from the get-go, just write in third person, because then it gets confusing if you're writing and you're just kind of on this wavelength. Sometimes it gets that way where you're just typing and you're like, okay, and then because you used I before in the middle of it, it gets confusing. So stick with third person and you'll be fine. Sentence structure, that's pretty much verb, subject, verb, agreement. And so if you've done all that, you'll get target. If there are a few errors throughout, you'll probably get approaching. If there's like 1 or 2, it will be acceptable. If there's a lot of spelling, a lot of things, and I see that maybe you didn't use the Lopes Write accordingly, because when you click on Lopes Write submit, it will highlight all the places that need to be fixed. So if I see that maybe you just clicked straight through and you didn't use that, then I will give us insufficient. If it's just thrown together last minute and there's like barely nothing there, you'll probably get unsatisfactory. Format documentation, I'm looking for APA style. Ignore all this. It is APA style 7th edition. And I'm looking for citations. I'm looking for if you have your references correct. If you, what else? If you are using the subheadings. Now subheadings, I want to say development and structure. I count off if there are no subheadings in development and structure, because without the subheadings, you're lacking that structure that you need. So the formatting, I'm looking for the font style, font size, all of that in here. Okay, now I'm done. I am tired. I did not get my coffee, which I was hoping for. So do you have any questions while I recoup?
No, I think I'm good.
Okay,
Yeah.
awesome.
Perfect.
Well, if you have no further questions, then I will let you go.
Okay, have a good day and get your
Thank
coffee.
you. Thank you. You too. Have a wonderful day. Thank you so much for
Bye.
coming. Oh, wait, hang on just a second. Hang on.
Oh,
Let me stop recording.